The day that I went into labor with Raymond, I thought I had to use the bathroom. We went to the hospital, and Ray didn't cause me any pain to get into this world. And he was such a beautiful baby. I noticed that he had a special smile in his eyes. He was a joy to have as a child. I never had problems out of him. I remember the day that I got the call about Ray being shot. It was December the 2nd, 2007. I was sitting at a slot machine and I was winning. And my cell phone rang, and it was my oldest son, Kenneth. And he says, "Mom, bad news, Ray's been shot again." I didn't really get upset because Ray had been shot before and he survived. Kenneth gave me a number. The officer had come to the house and gave him. And when I dialed this number, the person on the other end said homicide. I met with an officer who took me to the security room because when a person is shot, they put them in what they call blackout. I had to go through a security check, and then they led me through the back elevators up to where he was. He was on the neuro floor, and I remember walking off the elevator, and I said, "Oh my God, he's shot in the head." I was not prepared at all for what came next. When I walked through those doors, the nurse met me and she took me by the hand. We went into his room, and what I saw, his head was swollen like 3 times its size. And the nurse asked me, "Is that him?" And I didn't even look at her. I just told her to go to the foot of the bed and look at his feet and his stomach because he had certain markings there. And she looked at everything I told her and she said, "Yeah, that's him." So by this time, she left me alone with him for a few minutes. And I remember I held his hand and I said, "Ray, wake up. Please wake up. We need you." I could hear his voice. He said, "Ma, I'm not waking up. This is a wrap." So when he told me that he was not waking up, I had to let him go. I couldn't imagine who would have shot my child like that, because he was always laughing. He always was the laugh of the party. And looking at him laying up there with his head bandaged and this blood coming out of his eyes. I remember asking the nurse, why did he have this thick second of blood right at his nose? And she said if we pull that out, it would just flow because the bullet did such damage to his brain. So after I slid down the wall and sat there for a while, I got up because I had to call Ramona. And before I got to call her, the doctor came in. He explained to me that Ray had taken a bullet in the lower of his left side of his neck, and that bullet went straight through his brain and came out up in the right temple. And that was when I truly let my child go, because there was still time for him to save other people's lives. When I finished talking with the doctor, I went out in the hallway and I called Ramona. And all I can remember is her screaming. She was screaming to her mother, "Oh my God, they shot him in the head this time."
The day that I got the call from my granny, I was sitting on the couch and I was on the phone. As soon as she said that he was shot, I just started crying and screaming out real loud. And I ran to my mom and I told her that my daddy was shot. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong, but he's just shot. And I just threw the phone down and I'm just screaming and I was so scared. But then again, in the back of my head, I was thinking like, maybe it's not that bad because he got shot before and he was okay. On the way to the hospital, I was just thinking like, please just, like, Lord, just please don't let him die. And once I got to the hospital and I saw my granny, how her face was just so cold and she was crying. You could tell her eyes was just so red, and it's just like, as soon as I saw her, I just started crying and I hugged her real tight. And I was just like, everything is gonna be okay. And when I walked upstairs and I stood in front of his door where his body was at, laying on this hospital bed, I just started crying. I couldn't walk into the room because he was so big. Like, his head was 3 times bigger than what a normal person's head was. And I'm just thinking in my mind, like, oh my God, he is gone. Like, literally, he is dead. All I remember was just grabbing his hand and just telling him, like, Daddy, I love you. You can't leave me. And I need you.
Even after 6 years, it hurts. It hurts so deeply. I go to his grave. I hurt as his mom because he was murdered and because I don't know who or why. In life, he helped people. In death, he's still helping people. But during this time of the year, when it's Christmas and I have to decorate my tree and put his obituary on it instead of him helping me put ornaments on it, it pains me, but as time go on, I'm a little bit better, but never will I get over it.
I just want to know why and who did that to him.
I just want to know who and why. I know when, but I don't know who nor why for sure.